So, yeah, first of all, my name is Jenny Cueva. I am a licensed social worker and a counselor to both victims and perpetrators of sexual abuse. So I am from CPTCSA, or the Center for the Prevention and Treatment of Child Sexual Abuse in the Philippines. So Family for Every Child is an alliance of currently 45 local civil society organizations in 38 countries. And as an alliance, we have the goals around preventing family separations, strengthening families, ensuring high quality alternative care when needed, and protecting children outside of any care. Our members have a rich understanding of the situations for children and families in local contexts, as well as solutions interventions for improving child's care. At CPTCSA, we provide therapeutic support to children who have been sexually abused and children who demonstrate problematic, harmful sexual behavior. We also train foster care providers for children who have been sexually abused. We operate under the principles that prevention and treatment are interdependent. So today's event is the third in our series of three webinars on the importance of supporting mental health in children's care. This webinar builds on discussion from our first and second webinars in August and October, where we discuss a variety of approaches for supporting the mental health of vulnerable children and youth from across regions and contexts. In today's webinar, we bring in focus upon the creative therapies, arts-based approaches through two of our speakers. So here's our agenda for today. So our speakers today will share with us how they are supporting the mental health of children within their communities across their three respective contexts. Working together, social casework as therapeutic approach by Rita Paniker of Butterflies in India. We have also the art, forgiveness, and cognitive behavior interventions by Rosemary Afedzi of Challenging Heights, Ghana. And we have also the dance movement therapy for healing and well-being by Dr. Suhini Chakraborty of Kolkata, Sanved, India, and Junal Mondal. So, of course, we have also the opening discussions and questions and our closing remarks. This presentation will follow the opportunity for open discussions and questions. We will invite you to share your own experiences of approaches you are using, your experiences, successes, and challenges so we can all learn from one another. So now, I would like to introduce our panelists representing two of Family for Every Child's member organization and an external guest speaker. First, we have Rita Paniker. She is the founder and director of Butterflies in India, founded in Delhi, India in 1989. Butterflies is a rights-based organization with the core goal of protecting and empowering street-connected children so that they become self-reliant and exit the cycle of generational illiteracy and poverty. Another is our second panelist, is Rosemary Afedsi of Challenging Heights, Naga. She is a recovery manager. Challenging Heights works to reduce and prevent child trafficking and exploitation within the fishing industry in Ghana, and protect children's rights. And our last two speakers are Dr. Sohini Chakraborty. She is the founder director of Kolkata Saved and a pioneer of dance movement therapy or DMT in India and South Asia. For more than 26 years, she has experimented with DMT as a tool of empowerment, psychosocial rehabilitation, and reintegration for marginalized women, children, young people, and adults. We have also Julan Mondal. She is the head of DMT Leadership Academy and the founder member of Kolkata Sunbed. So thank you very much, and we are very delighted to have you all today. So now, without further delay, I'd like you to turn over to Rita and to invite to share your perspective on the importance of supporting mental health and the approaches you take at Butterflies. Hello, Rita.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jen. Um, Thank you, everybody. Good evening, friends. It's evening here. I suppose it'll be morning somewhere else and an afternoon somewhere else. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I will walk you through social casework as a therapeutic approach of working in the area of mental health. The next slide, please. The next slide. Should I do the slides? Okay. Social casework is defined as a primary method of social work. It is aimed at adjustment and development of an individual by facilitating better functioning of human relationships, is a better use of resources by him or her, which might have been restricted by certain factors. I'll go into the details of the social casework methodology in the following slides. Next one, please. Why social casework as a therapeutic approach? The context in which we work has revealed to us that children, especially who are street connected, children who are living in street situations, independently living, and of migrant families face multiple forms of violence and challenges in their lives. There's the denial of survival and development rights of children is closely related to protection and mental health issues. Physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. You have children and families are in need of professional help, which is comprehensive in nature. Next one, please. So how do we get these cases? Our frontline staff identifies children in need of mental health support through our night outreach. Every fortnight, we walk the streets of Delhi where we work, meet children, meet families, and those who are, in cases, we also find children who are abandoned. We have informal conversations with children at our centers. We have home visits, which we make daily. And there is awareness sessions with parents and community every fortnight. And it is from this that we do get the cases. Referral by Child Social Protection Committees, which is a community-based child protection mechanism established by us with the involvement of all the key stakeholders in the communities, including child representatives. Children also seek help for their issues, sometimes directly from the caseworkers or through their buddies. Buddies are adolescents who are selected and trained for peer support, or in the children's councils. Childline, which is a government emergency helpline services for children, which we run and manage. We get children in crisis from there too. Next one, please. The next slide. So how does casework work? It's a professional relationship with a definite purpose. What is casework methodology? Social casework is a method of social work with a primary approach concerned with the adjustment and development of the individual towards more satisfying human relations. Casework is a humanistic attempt for helping people who have difficulty in coping with the problems of daily living. In casework, the relationship is the medium through which changes are brought in the behavior and personality of the individual. Butterflies uses the term problem-solving model that does not focus on the deficit or weakness-oriented practice. Instead, as a collaborative process between caseworkers and children and their families, focusing their existing strengths to address the immediate problems or social emotional issues. Here, the child is studied as a whole with the reference to his or her microsystem, the exosystem, and the macrosystem, comprising of the family, the relatives, the peer group, the school, the neighborhood, and the prevailing social conditions. So it is also a modification of the environment that one does through social casework to attain a more satisfying human relations, to solve their immediate problems and prepare for the future. The next slide, please. The next slide.
This one.
We have found that family as an agency is a very important unit that we need to be working with. In most of the cases, we have found that the causes of mental stress, tension, emotionally not being well is rooted in family problems. So family therapeutic interventions work to improve the communications, the understanding and handling of special family situations, and creating a better functioning home environment. What does it involve? It involves exploring the interactional dynamics of the family and its relationship to psychopathology, restructuring the maladaptive interactional family styles, including improving communications, mobilizing the family's internal strength and functional resources, strengthening families' problem-solving behavior. We have found it to be a very effective tool in family strengthening so that the family doesn't collapse and the children do not lose parental or family care. The next slide, please. The principles and the components of social casework. There are 7 principles. There's the principle of individualization, of acceptance, of purposeful expression of feelings, controlled emotional involvement, non-judgmental attitude, the client's right to self-determination, and the principle of confidentiality. These are the core principles of social casework. When we speak about the components of social casework, we speak about the 4 Ps, and that is the person, the problem, the place, and the process. These are the components of social casework. We will speak further about it as we go along. Next slide, please. The next slide. Here, the social casework process. How do we do social casework? The first step is the intake. And that's where the client is a skillful probing into the client's problem and the relevant factors that come in. The next step is the study. The problem and the client, the nature, the significance, and the causes of the onset of the problem, efforts made to cope with it or to solve it, and the history of the problem. This is studied after the intake. The study gives us the diagnosis. The diagnosis is shifting the relevant from the irrelevant data, organizing the facts and getting them into relatedness, grasping the way in which the factors fit together, and preparing the meaning as a whole. And that gives us our planning treatment. Making the case for treatment plan is made based on this process, the intake, the study, the diagnosis. And in this whole process, the core or the fundamentals is the dynamic, clinical, and etiological. It's based on that. Now, I'd like to take you through, by saying this is an intake, it's a study, there's a diagnosis, there's a planning treatment, and a closure and a follow-up. I'd like to take you through the process through a case illustration, which will make you understand how we do social casework. So can I go to the next slide, please? Now, this is a case illustration that will give us how the processes of social casework is. The first step is the intake. And in this case, it is Summer, who is a 14-year-old boy. He lives in Delhi in a poor urban neighborhood. His mother is a homemaker and his father works as an office attendant in a school. Summer approached the social caseworker and shared that he was unable to concentrate on his studies. He also shared that he was not happy with his family. There were frequent fights between his parents and his older brother. It makes him feel very upset and worried. The father constantly criticizes Summer, found fault with him over his friend circle, his studies, his clothes, the way he styles his hairstyle, the way he speaks, the way he walks, his behavior, which enrages Summer and makes him want to run away from home. He mentioned to the social caseworker that one of these days he will run away from home. Next. The next, after the intake, is the psychosocial study that one does in the process of social casework. So the social caseworker interacted with the client, his father, his mother, and sibling, and it had been observed that Summer's father had a violent temper. Summer found his father's behavior towards the family members, especially with him and his mother, to be highly disturbing. Summer's anger and worries were primarily a result of these familial disputes. He found himself alone and unhappy all the time. As a result of these disputes, he was on the verge of leaving the family. Meanwhile, he had also dropped out of school. Next one. So after the study comes the diagnosis, that is the social diagnosis in the process. So what was the social diagnosis? Based on the individual as well as the family therapeutic casework, it has been analyzed that Summer had faced many difficulties related to his family, especially with his father, that affected his studies and played a major role for his unhappiness and deep anger. He was mentally in a what one would say a dark hole at that particular point in time. He said there was no peace at home. His father had a violent temper and there was conflict, constant conflict between his parents due to financial crisis and a debt to be repaid. His father did not show any affection. he was a highly patriarchal person. And the whole family was run on patriarchal norms. He found himself to be angry and unhappy all the time, and Summer felt unloved. Next. So after the diagnosis comes the treatment, that is the intervention treatment plan. So the social casework used the self-esteem assessment, the therapeutic use of self-reflections. When we speak about the self-esteem assessment, we use the Rosenberg scale. During the casework session, through storytelling, using examples, and working with individual and family members on communication patterns, anger management was used during the casework treatment. Individual therapeutic sessions on self-esteem and managing negative emotions through stories, informed decision-making, and sessions on career guidance were taken with the client, that is Summer. There was also individual sessions with the father on anger management, and behavior that hurts others was held with the father. And there were a series of sessions with the father. The sessions also included techniques to calm down. There was deep breathing exercises taught to him and meditation too. Next, please. In continuation of the treatment, it became necessary that you should have sessions with the family members too, to resolve the issue of Summer and the unhappiness and his deep anger. So sessions with family members were focused on supportive environment, sharing and caring, importance of appreciation of each member. The family therapeutic care sessions helped in resolving key conflicts within the family, as one of the cause of conflict was financial crisis. Sessions were also held on household budgeting with the family, which became a part of the social casework too. At the school level, the social caseworker had discussions with the school principal and the class teacher about Summer's absence from school and learning levels. And with their support and assistance, Summer was able to readjust to school and improve his learning levels. So in the social casework process, or what we would say the treatment, there was the client, the father, the family, and now the school where the caseworker worked with. So Butterflies helped Summer through social casework therapy to work on his unresolved emotional issues, including anger, and prevented him from leaving home. Individual social casework sessions with the father and family therapeutic care interventions with the family members improved communications, conflict resolutions, and family bonding. Now, Summer has a strong bonding with his father too. Butterflies ensured that he did not give up his schooling and re-enrolled him to continue his schooling and is supporting him to see that he completes it. So in the social casework therapeutic approach, we have the individual client, but we also look at the environment that is factoring on the mental health of the individual and work with the environment to modify it. So this is it. Thank you very much. Looking forward for questions. I hope I kept to the time.
Yeah. Thank you, Rita, for that. Yeah. Thank you, Rita, for that comprehensive presentation of casework process. And I really like the 4 Ps, the person, problem, place, and the process, especially that we're not only looking for the micro, but also on the exo and the macro system of the client. For the family is very important, right? And also that we can help the child or the client for his mental health and other psychosocial needs.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, for the people here, you can type in our chat box your questions to Rita, especially some of the tickling things that tickles your mind while she is presenting the casework process. Okay, so now let us go to our second speaker. So, Rosemary, hello. So, we are now going to hear from Rosemary about the approach that Challenging Heights uses. Hello, Rosemary. Good morning. Good day. We cannot hear you. Yeah, Rosemary, you need to be in the English room and
Okay,
mute the
isolated.
original. I good, very good. We can hear you now.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. It's afternoon in Ghana, and nice to meet all the participants and then the panelists today. So my name is Rosemary, and I'm the recovery manager at Challenging Heights Recovery House. So what we basically do is to rescue children who have been trafficked onto destinations of fishing community or fishing industries. We do chat domestic workers, sex exploitation, and other areas of our work. So I'm going to take us through a few of our therapeutic approaches or what we've been using to help the children heal or recover during their recovery processes. So I may mention just a few of them that we use the cognitive behavioral intervention, we use art therapy and then forgiveness therapy. But for today's discussion, I'm going to be based more on forgiveness therapy, our approaches, and then the techniques that we use in helping the children to forgive. In our area of work, we have find it very difficult to forgive their offenders, especially children who have been abused physically, sexually, verbally, emotionally, children who have really gone through a very high traumatic experiences find it very difficult to forgive. So I'll go straight to talking about forgiveness therapy. So what do we mean by forgiveness therapy? It's a therapeutic technique or healing method to use support or help victims to heal from their traumatic or harmful feelings. And why do we even do it? We do it to restore normative relationship with the people who have caused offense or harm to the victims. Please, can we go to the next slide? So in our area of work, we use these three techniques in helping the children to forgive themselves, to forgive their offenders. One of them is the perspective taking. So we are looking at where the child or the victim would help to forgive and develop empathy for the progressor, to help them take the perspective of the other person. And so when we talk about the perspective, we are looking at five prompts or five indicators that we use. We are looking at the pressures of the child, where we are looking at the situational pressures that made the person behave the way they behave towards the victim. We are also looking at the past, the background as to what or the contribution to the person acting the way they did. And then the personality, looking at the event the person's life has led to the person having the personality that he or she may have. And then provocations, where the victim actually contributed in how the offender actually caused him the harm. We're also looking at the empathy chair. So the empathy chair is just a conversation technique where the victim imagines the offender sitting right across him or her. This is to give the victim the opportunity to see the empty chair as the offender or the progressor who has offended him, and then have a conversation. And this is actually a lot of processes that we go through. I may have a Word document to share with family for every child so we can see the processes that the children go through. go through and the empathy chair technique. We have the worksheet is to help the children. Most of our clients are not able to speak English or to write. So we give them the sheet to do drawings to show us how they've been offended, how they were abused, some of the things that they've gone through to help them draw into color and to also to speak to what they've drawn. Please, the next slide. I want to speak quickly. So just quickly into our forgiveness therapy, we realize that most cases, the post-traumatic stress disorder scores of our victims really go high after our first initial screening with the child. Victims find it very difficult in coming back for progressive sections because they have flashbacks. They remember some of the things that the offenders have done to them. And so coming back to having flashbacks again is very difficult for them sometimes to come back for progressive sections. And then they tend to isolate or withdraw from friends after the first section, especially children who have gone through abuses through their own friends or their family members. They withdraw or they isolate themselves. Okay, so just to go straight to some of our successes, we realized that doing the forgiveness therapy has actually helped victims to let go. And then we have family counseling that has bring families together and then offenders together with the victims. And victims have found peace and serve as advocates for forgiveness. And victims have found freedom from their past traumatic experiences and have let go anger, bitterness, and are able to forgive easily. Thank you.
Sorry. So hello. Thank you, Rosemary, for that quick but fruitful presentation on forgiveness, especially that you highlight the forgiveness therapy, the techniques, the challenges, and most importantly, the success that these children were able to let go, find peace and freedom, and forgiving. So that's very good and very relevant. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So now our third speaker, or we will move on. So it's Dr. Suhini and Julan's turn to share with us about some dance therapy. Hello.
Hi, so I need the share screen option.
I'll just, yeah, okay, good.
I think Jane, you have to stop share. Otherwise, I cannot
Sorry,
share.
sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
That's
And I'm requesting host to bring Jhulon in the spot. So it will be easy for everyone if it is possible. Yeah, as it is a dance movement therapy for healing and well-being. So we will be really start with the experiential process. And I'm requesting Jhulon to stand, and I'm really requesting all the audience. We will imagine we are in a circle, and we will just, before saying anything, just to move a little bit with our body, and Jhulon will be leading that. So yeah, so I'm playing a music. With the music, we will be shaking our hands and moving our body. And you can, for 2 minutes, you can also on your video, if you wanted to, it can be seen like we are moving together. Yeah, so let's imagine like our entire body like a bird, and we are moving into the sky. So that's the kind of image I am giving to everyone. If we are moving, we are just slowly come back to our space. Slowly come back to our space. Sit and close our eyes. Again, we will imagine we are in a circle. We will close our eyes. Take a deep breath. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. And we will check what's happening in the body, from head to shoulder, to elbow, to stomach, to chest, back, knee, feet, fingers, every part, the muscle, bones. What's happening in the body? And very slowly we will open our eyes and slowly place our hand on our head with the breathing on our chest and hug yourself. Okay, thank you. And we can remove the spotlight and we can on the PPT. And as soon as the PPT is on, if anyone wanted to share how you are feeling or any thoughts, anything coming in your mind, you just write in the chat box. Go to the next slide. We start with the experiential because the entire methodology is experiential. So Kolkata Sangved is a women-led organization and pioneer in the field of dance movement therapy in not only in India, but Southeast Asia as well. And we developed, using the dance movement therapy, we developed a community focused beyond clinical, culturally contextualized model named Sampurnata. And this Sampurnata model used dance movement therapy and creative art-based therapy as instrument to promote holistic well-being, gender equality, and quality of life through a collaborative approach. So being an organization co-founded by survivors of gender-based violence, trafficking, and oppression, KS has successfully established that survivor, along with those living on the vulnerable condition, can become successful professional dance movement therapy practitioner and lead the social change. And this is the 60% employee of Kolkata Sangved also emerged from grassroots as a DMT practitioner and change maker. And their presence is in the senior leadership team to board and everywhere. The next slide. Yeah, so keeping in mind World Health Organization's definition of health and mental health and well-being, we focus the process of DMT that facilitate a different opportunity to restore mental health for any person facing mental distress, trauma, marginalization, and build capacity for them to realize their agency, emotional regulation, coping mechanism, and positive reintegration into their community. And this intervention is conducted through dance movement therapy and other creative art-based therapy. Next slide. And here I just wanted to say that whenever we are talking about the distress, trauma, pain, it's restored into our body. And that's why the body is the center of the entire process. And dance and movement, using dance and movement, we are really liberating our body to remove our pain, trauma, and different kind of stress. And Kolkata Sangved actually promote, definitely we use major in dance and dance movement therapy, but we also believe a multi-dimensional approach is very, very important when we are working with people. So it use also the music and other form of modality of arts. And we constantly create space for individuals to express, heal, empower themselves. And we also collaborate with different, a variety of organizations, from NGO to academics to community-based organization to performing arts, academy, the universities, to mainstreaming dance, DMT, and art, not as a co-curricular activity, rather as a mainstream activity or an engine for psychosocial rehabilitation, empowerment, and well-being. Next slide. Yeah, so we work, our entire work contribute the 3 SDG goals, which I spoke: good health and well-being, gender equality, and partnership, because the entire model based on collaboration and partnership. Yes. Yeah, so now what is DMT? So I think some of you get a glimpse. It's really even not a glimpse, but dance movement therapy is a form of creative art therapy and expressive art therapy that is located in the positive mental health spectrum and is a tool to address both preventive and remedial mental health and overall well-being. And this has a scientific evidence also. So it's not like any art-based. Now art-based therapy has a scientific evidence. Recently, World Health Organization published in 2019 this evidence-based report that how art is helping the mental health and well-being sector for prevention to psychosocial rehabilitation to promotion. So connecting the body and mind through spontaneous experiential movement process, dance movement therapy facilitates emotional expressions and physical, mental, and social well-being. So we feel that if we're starting from physical, it's automatically connecting to mental, which gives you a strength to connecting the overall well-being. Yeah, next. Yeah, so in DMT, how the psychosocial process happens. So the baseline is all of us can move. So we move, so that's our baseline. And we can explore our body, and all movement are equal. And that helps to express the unconscious and working on emotion. There the body-mind processes happen. So it's not only top to bottom, like it's not that logical brain is talking to us, but it's bottom up also within ourselves, and which helps the healing process where we integrating ourselves, and that lead to transformation where I am coming into a my own well-being, and which is finally connecting to the social well-being. Yes, next. Next, please. Yeah, so what is the benefits? Before that. What is the benefits of dance movement therapy? Benefits is that we are nurturing healthy body and mind, self-awareness, body-mind connection, and we are building insights and finding a purpose. Emotional regulation, stress management, empathy, and building resilience. And I spoke already about whose study. Next. And Kolkata Sangved model, Sampurnata, is an emancipatory model of dance movement therapy, even globally. So it proves that when we are talking about dance movement therapy, it's not only body and mind, it's also body, mind, society. So we have to integrate the three parts. It started from, so if I am facing physical trauma, so then that has to be catered on through developing a positive body image, and which is next working on the emotional space. So it's kind of from a confined and a broken dysfunctional self to a free, connected, functional self, which lead towards a positive thoughts and resilience. These two together bringing an empowerment and psychosocial rehabilitation. Then from there, an individual can look at the perception on social trauma, vision for life, building the agency, and re-establishing identity, not only as an individual, but also kind of taking the charge to paying back. So that's how the Sampurnata model functions. So it's not I am transforming myself, but I'm ready to transform others. Next. Yeah, so the methodology is very creative and playful, participatory, and it is experiential. It's sometimes very difficult to articulate, and we know, and it's allow the non-verbal approach, because not all the time people can speak or talk about their pain, trauma, and stress. And it is scientifically proven that it's restored in the body. So body-based methodology is very, very important. And also the verbal approach, because some people love to articulate how they process. So the process happen. So it includes both approach, and it is multidisciplinary. Within the DMT process, various art forms and the music are encouraged and practiced. and it's practiced in group and individual settings. Next. It's very important as Kolkata Sangved is working in a group process. So how we can nurture not only self-care, but the collective care which can lead to the overall well-being. So it started from awareness, which is my awareness about my body and myself. Then I am connecting to body-mind connection, then healing self, and then together. And when I am healing myself, actually in a group, I am acknowledging not only my pain, but our collective pain, challenges, and struggles, and then co-creating a space, which is a collective care space, creating a space for care, love, and support. And then it is reaching out to overall social well-being. Next. Yeah, so core activity, how the DMT session led. So it started from a need assessment before starting any kind of program design and implementation. And in the session, it starts with a warm-up the way we started. There is an introduction and then warm-up, and there is a deep therapeutic process, and then a relaxation, healing touch. Today we have done a little bit of self-touch, but there is a process of healing touch. And then there is closing session and group discussion, feedback, and reflective circle. And end it is debriefing. So that is very briefly about Sangved model and about DMT, how it helps to people. And if there is time, I will encourage everyone that if we can, play a music, and if we can just do a free dance for ourselves. And if there is no time, then it's okay. So, I'm just asking to moderator and.
Hello.
Yeah.
Are you done, Sahini?
Yeah, I am done.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, one free dance for everyone, but if there is time, that is I am asking.
Yes. Can we do it for 2 minutes?
Yeah, it is for 2 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
we
you.
can.
Yeah, so then you just stop share. I will stop the just share. Yeah.
Sure. This one. Okay.
Okay. So I am requesting again, bring Jhulan. It's your free movement. Huh? You don't need to see Jhulan the way you want to move. Your body, you want to move. So please move that way. For 1 minute. And I will request everyone one more time to close your eyes and check what's happening into your body. And we will go through just check our body. And imagine we are in a circle. And just keep your one hand here and feel. Breathe.
And on the road are you and me.
Hold. And connect. Connect with yourself, connect with everyone. One more time, you can use this when you are in stress.
And all the years are never
Breathe,
and all the moments for
feel,
and all is
hold, and connect. Thank you very much. Stay well.
Much, Junal and Suhini, for that experiential dance movement. I myself felt liberating and finding my own space with that exercise. That's very good. It's very calming. And I know that most of our participants here agreed that they also felt that way during this presentation. So thank you so much. Okay. So now we would like to thank the our four panelists for this webinar series. And also, I think to sum up our presentations for today, I know with this presentation, from the casework, from the holistic approach, from the individual to child, we were able to grasp or take a look with different kinds of intervention and how can we help the child and also the family. And with the last two presentation, this is very specific though, client focused intervention. And I think this is very really good for most of us here to understand, to know different techniques and different strategies on how we can help our clients, especially different creative ways. No, it's not just talking or doing counseling, but we have a lot of intervention that we can choose so that we will be able to help more people, more children in this field. So thank you. A big clap to all of you and also to our participants who participated in this event. So now, I think we have time for some open discussions and also question and answer. May we ask someone, or if you have any question, you can raise your hand, turn on your speaker so that you can directly ask your questions. Or you can also type in the chat box some of your questions or any clarifications for our panelists. Is there someone here who wants to ask questions? So maybe I can read some comments here. No, from Nelly. Thank you so much. I need to go to work, but I was very happy to hear a lot and all feel what is doing. Not only helpful for our clients and also for self-care and can be extended to families. Okay. So no questions or you're just typing in? Okay, so there you go. There are some questions here. So for Rita. Hello, Rita. So Rita, okay, so the question is, could you explain further how social casework intervenes both at the individual and their immediate environment level in making the required changes to support the individual to resolve their emotional, social, and psychological concerns or issues? So may I repeat again? Could you explain further how social casework intervenes both at the individual and their immediate environment level in making the required changes to support the individual to resolve their emotional, social, and psychological concerns and issues?
Okay. In social casework, the difference between social casework and counseling, quote unquote, which is clinical, is that in social casework you use counseling. There's psychology is part of the component of social casework. But along with that, what the social caseworker does is that looks at what are the issues that is impacting that mental problem, the mental health, where the person is not feeling emotionally well. So what is the stress? What is it that is impacting that? So sometimes it's not, it is the environment that would be. It could be the family. It could be the peer group. It could be the neighborhood. It could be the school. Now, for example, right now, what we are working with social casework is we find that a lot of kids who are into the virtual world, into the internet, that with the Instagram is something that is actually causing a lot of mental stress on children, because they keep trolling each other, talking about their the way they look, their figures, their face, their image, their body image, and a whole lot of things happen. So when that happens, how do you address that? One is with the client, but the other is to be sitting with the family, with the school system, with the peer group, to be able to understand what is how important it is to be in the real world rather than in the virtual world. It's so very important to make those social face-to-face relationship rather than your friends and support system in the virtual world. So in social casework, you would work with all the systems, not along with the client, so that a solution is made wherein you find that the child or the adolescent or the young person can come out of that mental stress that the person is having. So that's I would say the effectiveness of social casework, as compared to, say, one would say, I'm not saying that clinical work is not good. Of course, it is very important, because even in social casework, we do clinical work, we do counseling, we do the psychology part, but we also modify the environment. I hope I've answered it. Yeah.
Yeah, well said, Rita. Thank you. Another question is for Suhini. Hey, Suhini, Dr. Suhini.
Hi.
So, yeah, the question is about the importance of body-based experiential method. Why is it important? And why dance, diba? Of all the medium, why dance?
I think first, I spoke in my presentation as well, because most of the time we ignore the body. We forget about the body. And a lot of things happen, like what we are experiencing in the environment, actually it is restored in the body. And if we see about the victimization, trauma, PTSD and everything, so then how it will be, how we can overcome this. So seeing the body is a space is very important. And also like understanding and the awareness, like the sensation, this is my body, I'm here, I'm present. My body is here, I am here. My body is not here, I am not here. So coming back to constantly to body and in a positive manner and claim the space is very important of the process. And body teach. the awareness, the sensation, and it's constantly give the messages, the positive when and why dance. Definitely dance is find in across the culture, any art forms, if I say, not only dance. And it's really, it's very playful and it's creative. So where you can explore a lot of things to express. Most of the time we are unable to express, especially when you working with the children. It's very, very important how I am expressing. So this creative process and method is really helpful to express, to develop, to nurture. And then from there, I can, go to my holistic well-being. So I am here with my body, with that proudness, with that relaxation, with the comfort, and become friendly with body. Because, in sexual exploitation or other kind of trauma and pain, any individual first reject their body, cut off from their body, the entire disassociation. Yeah, so that's why body is very important.
Yeah.
So if we need to reclaim our space, we really need to rework with our body through, and the art-based intervention and dance movement therapy provide that positive pathway, neuro pathway to, improve the neuroplasticity and other things to become that, build the resilience and reach to the positive mental health.
Yeah. So there's also a question on where can we access the DMT guide or manual?
Yeah, so I written that in our website.
So do you have that in their website? Okay, good.
Yeah, and also I am typing our email. So
Okay.
if what kind of manual and guidance you want, if you can email kolkatasamved@gmail.com, we can, share with you.
Okay, thank you. Another one is this from Shreyas, CWC. Present generation children are facing many problems. We are unable make understand that what is good, what is bad. They are facing many problems from their families. They have less support from their parents. They do follow these parents' work. They leave schools earlier and go to work, falling on bad habits and other activities that ruin their life. How can we work out to bring them in a mature way? I think this could also be for everyone or those who wants to answer this question. So how can we help or bring them in a mature way?
Yeah, I think Rosemary is.
Rosemary?
Hi, hello.
Hello, Rosemary.
Hi. So my answer to this question is, when we form in bad habit, it could be from how we were brought up from home, or maybe from friends or peer pressure. So forming bad habits may not necessarily come from home, but it may come from friends. Also, it could be that there are issues that the families are facing at home, so the child is not really stable at home. For example, domestic violence, where parents would have to separate, where one parent would have to live somewhere and another parent would have to live somewhere. The child is left alone to live on his or on her own. So what we are looking at for is to support those children by educating them, giving them what forms good habits. Okay, and activities that ruin their lives. How can we, activities like, what is it? Are they drug addicts? What is it? Are they into sex exploitation? I would like to get the actual things he is actually talking about, so I'll be able to address his question very well, he or she very well, because if the activities ruining their lives, what are these activities ruining their lives? So we'll be able to specifically state some of the activities they can undergo to support them. Yes.
Thank you. And think we have another question here also for Rosemary. Why do victims PTSD scores are higher after their initial screening and what technique it is used to minimize the scores.
Okay, thank you very much. So the PTSD, the post-traumatic stress disorder, we have indicators for measuring. So when we know children don't have forgiveness issues and we go into any of the techniques that we use, you know, the more questionings that you ask and the more the child answers, the more it's triggers the abuses that the child has gone through. If the child has gone through sexual abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, it triggers it. So after the first section, you will see that after we are back to measure the PTSD of the child may score more than the first time we measured. And so some of the things that we use in making sure that this is done is by using the cognitive behavioral intervention. That is to help the child correct his or her behavior. And then we also have the therapy, the art therapy, where we have a lot of activities like hands are not for hitting, teaching children not to be aggressive, children not to take revenge on what people have done to them. So these are some of the things we actually do in making sure that the children are really like to correct those scores. So after the cognitive behavioral intervention and then the art therapy, we come back during reviews to measure the PTSD again. So when we measure and we see that the child is scoring low, then when we go into the art therapy for the second section, we know the kind of questions to ask the child. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So another question for Suhini, ma'am. It was such a soothing activity. My question is how the dance therapy help the client to resolve his or her social emotional issues if the conflicts within the family are the fundamental cause of the problem.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say like this is a process-based work, and it's like we first identify the challenges when we are working with any group, that from where they are coming. So based on that challenges, we do the need assessment, and then we develop the entire program plan. And if we are like, for example, if there is a issue of conflict, what you have written, so the conflict is also has an impact in the body. So what kind of then physical issue and the emotional issue, cognitive issue is, coming out of that root cause, and then, recover slowly from there, like physical and then emotional, then cognitive, and then connecting with the entire psychosocial. So here two kind of process. One is inner, which is first myself, and then interpersonal. So, and it takes like, it's not like 2 days session, we are not expecting through 2 days session overcoming everything. We spend minimum 6 months to 1 year with our one group because it is a process-based work. So there is no kind of, and we do not want to find any solution of a problem. Rather, we facilitating our well-being. Like, I just wanted to say that we are not result-oriented or a product-oriented. It's a process-oriented where we facilitate a well-being pathway so that the healing process can happen by the individuals themselves. I hope I answered, or I don't know.
Thank you, Suhini. Another one here. There's a lot of questions. Fatuma. So I think it's for Rosemary. So for first, this is really hard even for question of forgiveness. First, this is really hard even for adults. How sure are you that the children get to understand it means to forgive? What age groups do you work with a forgiveness approach? Secondly, have you noticed any gender preference in your approach? Rosemary?
Hi, hello. Thank you for the question. I know it's really hard to forgive even when it comes to adult. And the ages that we are working is between, the ages are between 7 years to 17 years. So they may have resentment, they will be bitter about things, they would have embitterment and all that. But the strategies that we use is to get the children to understand what it means to forgive. Example, when a child decide that I would never forgive my own biological mother because she allowed people to traffic me. We would have to let the child understand the circumstances at which the mother trafficked him or her for him to understand. The child may have the bitterness, and why did my mom actually even traffic me at the first place? Is it that she cannot take care of me? Is it because he has a lot of children and that he or she is not able to take care of us? So we would have to let the child understand the circumstances at which the event happened or the issue happened. So when the child really understands, that's why I said we do the perspective taking. So when you do the perspective taking, you then understand why your mom or your dad contributed to you being trafficked, how the trafficker contributed to why you were trafficked, and why you suffered those abuses. So when the child is able to take that perspective taken, then the child is able to, and then we come down to their very level. We use drawings, we need pictures, videos in showing them some of these things. And then we try to break it down to their level for them to understand it. So when we are done with that, we allow the child for a few days to go on his or her own, to go and think about it, and then come back to us to say that, okay, I now get it, that this is why this thing really happened. How do I then forgive this person? Then we take you through the process of having the empty chair therapy and then taking the exercise of forgiveness. So we ask you questions. How did it happen? Did you contribute to it? Yes or no? So through the questioning, we are able to then let the child understand, okay, I contributed, I didn't contribute. And this is the time I need to let go. Because if I don't let go, I will continue to have hatred towards my own family. I may have anger issues. I may not be able to control my emotions. And then it comes down to emotional intelligence as well. Letting the children know how to manage their emotions, how to be resilient, and how to stand for themselves and others too. So I know it's very difficult to do that, but when we take them through this process, and it's not a day process, it takes a longer period of time for us to be able to measure the successes or to measure what we've done with the child. So it will take like 3 to 4 months or even 5 months or even more months for the child to be able to come in realization that, yeah, he or she would have to forgive his or her family. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I think we're running out of time for our last question. As a counselor working with community children below the age of 18, I would like to ask, is choosing alternative therapies over traditional techniques better and in the best interest of the child, especially age group below 18? So who wants to answer, or who can answer this question?
I can briefly say
Okay.
that I
I
think,
can also answer.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
sure.
my thing, one line that for working
Yeah.
with the children, I think it's better to keep a multidisciplinary approach. Like not only verbal, but with the verbal, you can put other things. And yeah, Rita, over to you.
Okay.
I agree with you, Sohini. I think with children, and I think you need to be extremely careful as to what is the therapy you're going to be using, because you should not in any which way disturb the child further or create more of a problem for the child. So that becomes the primary, I think, concern that we should have, what therapy will be best for it. So I think that this is based on your diagnosis. You know, when you do your study and you do the diagnosis and you know what the real issues are, then I think that's where you would know which should we go for clinical work, which is counseling and the others, or would you add on to it maybe the art therapy, or you use the music and dance therapy, or the narrative therapy to add on to that? Yes, you can. You should, and there's nothing should stop you from doing it. But I think ultimately it is your study and social diagnosis which will tell you what would be the best approach to take. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rita. And Suhini and Rosemary. So this is a very wonderful discussion. And I know most of our participants here really gets the information, new information. I think we encourage you, if you have any questions, to continue this conversation and discussion on the change makers page, right? So that you can also tell or express your thoughts, feelings, especially with this kind of approaches. And I know our panelists are willing to share inputs and also to help one another, no, especially with coming up with these techniques. So now, so now we are here in the closing part of our event. So let me just share you some opportunities from Family for Every Child. So we have this defining, sharing, and healing. What is mental health? When others are doing will build confidence among practitioners that can they start something somewhere and understand what staff can do when and where a child needs further professional support. During COVID, many family members have acted quickly and sensitively, and much can be done within the capacity the organizations already have. Identify capacity building, needs of staff of all levels, especially the social workforce, and learn from one another where resources are restricted. And advocating for more support from well-wishers, donors, and the government. So, now we are approaching to the end. So, but before we close, I would like to mention our community platforms for the rights practitioner called the Change Makers for Children. Most of you will have registered for this event via this platform. It is a space for local practitioners to come together and connect, collaborate, and communicate, to learn from each other about what's working on the ground, to participate in discussions, solve problems, participate in advocacy initiatives, and engage with the influence the wider sector. If you haven't already, we welcome you all to become active participants in this global digital platform. With this topic and many others are discussed frequently. Visit changemakers4children.community to sign up. We will also post the URL in the chat box now. So just check it out. So now we have a closing poll, and we would like to thank all the speakers for taking time to share their work and insights, and for all for joining and participating. Before we end, we ask you to please complete a final poll to share some feedback with us on today's event. We hope to see you again soon for another Family for Every Child event. Thank you so much. Gracias.